I want to make sure that the questions from the audience are asked. Any specific questions from anybody in the audience? Any entrepreneurs in the area or corporates? No? Come on. Yes. Thank you. Okay, real quick. Tom.
Did everybody hear that question?
Yeah, the question is, who are the primary customers, since there are a lot of payers and different buyers of that technology right now? Tom?
Well, in the hospital, the selling new technology, like the technology that we're developing, is going to require multiple champions at multiple levels, and so we'll be pursuing the decision makers at the unit level, but also at the C level, because you have to demonstrate the cost effectiveness of the technology.
Okay, Dave?
We're generally pursuing an OEM model, so we're working with device companies and other technology companies to bring our products to market.
Ramesh, that's the big question. Who's going to pay for what you're doing?
It's the hospitals. They're actually very interested in this because we sell to hospitals mainly, and our hospital providers really are our primary customers. They pay for our product. They also pay for the tool in terms of how they use it. So.
Okay.
So why? Yeah, what's different now? So it's pretty clear that if you had this technology 5 years ago and you went to the hospitals to buy it, they would tell you, we do this well enough. What's changed that now makes the hospital an interested buyer?
Lately it's mainly been regulation, really, in some sense, right? If you really nail it down. Mm-hmm. But in reality, they hire anywhere from 25 to 30 case managers. All they do is review patient charts every day. Mm-hmm. They go through it manually, they review it, and they eventually use it as a way to drive care. Mm-hmm. But they forget the fact that the patient has a history. They have to go review thousands and thousands of pages of notes. Yep. And they forget all of that information. They're just using whatever they have right now. So in effect, they also saw the need for trying to cut down the time they spend reviewing charts. And so those are the two things, readmissions and can we do better quality of care by more face time with the patient.
There's the general question.
There's a question.
Slow on the switch there. Just the general question regarding corporates. Any corporates here that are in corporate venture or biz dev? I saw Chad walk in. Did he walk out? Somebody leaked to him that I was going to cold call him. Susan, anybody from the corporations? Because I'm interested in seeing when do you want to have those companies come and talk to you? Okay, well, if somebody finds anybody from the corporations, bring them back in. Yes?
Yeah, I'm not in this field.
Could you give him the mic, please?
I'm not in this field, but every time I see presentations by healthcare IT startup companies, I get enthused and confused all at the same time. Because I have no doubt that 5 years from now, and certainly 10 years from now, the provision of healthcare is going to be very different than it is today as a result of this kind of work. Mobile, cloud, web, sensors, data, analysis, early intervention, et cetera, et cetera. But I have very little capability of understanding what's going to determine who the winners are going to be. And most of the people investing in this area, my guess, will be losers, and only a few will be winners. What's your sense as to what will drive who will be the winners and who will be the losers?
You know, that's a good question. I really do believe that we're literally on the verge of a very tumultuous, disruptive phase of change in the healthcare system and the industry in particular. And that represents a huge opportunity. But the solutions that are going to be necessary to affect that change and implement are going to come from technologies that are at the moment not necessarily associated with medical tech. So it's going to be, I think, a combination, the solutions that are most effective. And this may complicate or it may perhaps excite you as an investor, but the bottom line is there are going to be technology coalitions that are going to form solutions that have components that are medical device, components that are IT, components that are analytical at the end, as well as service infrastructures that sort of support all of that. And those things are going to represent enormous opportunities for growth. And if you happen to have a stake in any one of those elements of the coalition, you're going to benefit. But I think the one thing that is likely to dictate it in the end of the day is picking your bets on the disruptive technologies. And the technologies that are being adapted today from legacy technology are unlikely to solve the problem. It's going to be the technologies that are being invented today to address this very specific problem of this decentralization of medicine into the community, I think, that will make a difference.
Hey, Dave, one of the things that I know is on the mind of entrepreneurs is and Tom, you alluded to the diversity of people that have invested in corporations in your company. But Dave, how do you go find the VCs that are interested in this? It's not really tech, and it's not really MedTech. A lot of us are as confused as the gentleman that just asked the question there, old timers. Who do you go to?
It's not easy. I think you do have to kiss a lot of frogs when you're raising money in this kind of environment, right? I mean, there's no question that we are silicon meets bio, and so we don't look like a pure play med device company. We're not a pure IT company. We're trying to fill something in the gap, and one of the ways that we've approached it is by having a couple different projects, some of which we can monetize quickly that are unregulated in the sports and fitness market, but carry that forward into connected health and wearable wireless health. So we try to diversify a little bit that way. We also, to Ramesh's point, have used non-dilutive government dollars to help fund some of the build out of our technology. So it's trying not to rely on venture dollars alone, but to combine that with some other sources of funding, customers that want to put skin in the game to help see our development happen quickly. And then, I think as the community is starting to talk about how we put these coalitions together, how we work in a collaborative way to make a system solution possible, there are more and more interested parties that are trying to accelerate that. And we saw some examples of that on the last panel with West Wireless and Intel and Qualcomm.
Yeah, kind of just to follow up, and then Joe, maybe Ramesh, you can give us and Tom some idea on this. One of the things that is really, to me, exciting is that we're starting to talk to corporates that could be buyers that are not traditional MedTech buyers. So the Ciscos of the world, with their telepresence technologies, we've seen Qualcomm, Ericsson and Siemens are really getting. Do you see that potentially, and when you pitch to VCs or when you will be pitching again to VCs, that universe of buyers is not just the Medtronics and the J&Js, Boston Scientifics, and the ghosts of guidance that remain, but those new buyers?
Absolutely, I think we've noticed that if there's a way to sort of show to a certain extent a platform where they can grow the existing technologies into something new. Example being mental health. You'll be surprised at mental health.
Mental health, yes.
It's actually underserved right now, where if there's a way to use telepsychiatry, where there's use telepresence to be able to help a patient and bring in some sort of relationship between the patient, the physician, the psychologist, psychiatrist, all together online, let's say through some means, a huge plus. It avoids unnecessary visits to the ambulatory clinics, avoids multiple things, and it's better care. So there you can see an open platform. Doesn't have to be dedicated to only medicine, but it's something that's open that can grow.
I think the partnering possibilities are enormous in this industry, and there is a convergence between the computer and internet-based companies, the telecoms, the medical device industry. All of us are going to ultimately have to collaborate because none of us are experts in all of them. These partnerships pose terrific possibilities for investors, but I think it also bodes well for the possibility of seeing this industry diversify considerably. I think there's going to be a very different landscape in the next 5 to 10 years with a lot of different players.
And I think as an ex-corporate venture guy, I think the corporations should get off their butt and really invigorate the ecosystem, because without them, really, this thing is really hard to take off on the shoulders of just VCs. And to the extent, I hope that the corporations are having those strategic discussions as to their role and responsibility in feeding this ecosystem moving forward, not just MedTech, but also on the IT side. Any questions from the audience before we end? Kevin? No? One more minute? Oh, okay.
So Sami, I wanted to say something, to reference the confusion question. I think there has been kind of free-floating enthusiasm for the space. People can vision how the impact could occur. But I think there's been an almost ideology trumping value. I think people have seen this as a virtuous thing to do, but have not always talked about the stakeholder value and how you're going to monetize that value to actually get movement and the change you would see. And it's one of the reasons why I asked Ramesh, I said, why would the hospital buy it? And it is the policy changes that I think you have to pay particular attention to. So when Medicare says, you know what, hospital-acquired infections, we're going to pay for those with no more dollars. Or 30-day hospitalizations for heart failure. That used to be an annuity for you. It is now a penalty for you. And when you see those step changes in reimbursement policy, I would say follow the incentives, right? And if there now is an incentive to make sure that you have fewer in-hospital deaths for patients that weren't monitored, you can rest assured that the CFO of a hospital system will not want to be on the hook for that. And if Tom can show up not with a virtuous vision, but with a real value proposition, you know, in God we trust, everyone else please bring data. And so he's got to show up with data that says, use this and these costs go down. Shared savings model, usually weak T, plays really strongly when you've got a government club saying, you have any more of that, and we're not going to pay for that, and we're going to cut your reimbursement by 1% for everything else you do. And so with those big policy changes afoot, I think it opens the door for reimbursement for these things and a business model that didn't previously exist. So I think we have switched from virtuous solution to valuable solution as policy has levered that change.
And also just to add to the point that Joe made, 5 years back, outcomes wasn't a big deal. It was talked about a lot in industry, but not as much. Over the last couple of years, a huge discussion on outcomes, partly driven by regulation. So in effect, it's the outcomes, payment-based outcomes, that's going to drive the way technology is going to sort of play a role helping get a better outcome in some sense.
And with that note, we will end. Is that a question there or a reprimand? A question. Okay, we'll take one more question.
This isn't meant to be silly because 5 years ago in the Air Force, they were counting on pilots like mad, and pilots are not going to be in the next 5 to 10 years. Probably not, especially in attack combat. How soon, you all are on the cusp of robotic care. There's no doubt about it. How soon do you see that beginning to happen, where those assimilations or combinations of the different skills or products begin to provide opportunity to provide a fair amount of our care robotically?
Okay, year by year.
All right, I think probably 5 to 10 years. It's going the next phase, the final phase is going to be the development of the powerful analytics that are going to take the data that's being generated and be
Dave?
truly predictive.
I mean, I think about it as decision support tools to help experts that are out there spend their time on stuff that really matters. And I think if you look at sort of how computers and computing has been adopted over the past 30 years, it hasn't put knowledge-based innovation out of business. It's let people focus on the things that really matter, and I think that's what we'll see.
A year? Give me a year. Come on.
2020.
Oh my God, Ramesh, please, something shorter term.
Honestly, I think it's already here, but by the time we deliver it, it's probably another 10, 15 years from now.
I got
It's
one.
already here in some sense.
I'll one up you. I think it started here. I think Earl Bakken started it with a pacemaker. I think when you had an intervention that could occur without a doctor playing a role that could save a patient's life, that was 1957.
All right, all the way from 1957 to 20 years from now. There you go. All right, thank you very much.